church, guys.
This is what our architects came up with. Anything white is the existing church. We're going to do 3 units, 3 units, 3 units, so a total of 9 over here on this addition. And then by being able to build up, we're going to have basement level units, main floor units, and then second floor units.
So hey everybody, I'm Kory MacKinnon. You're in Sarnia, Ontario right now. I'm a full-time real estate investor. I bought a church a year ago and we're planning to turn this 12,000 square foot church into a 26,000 square foot 32 unit apartment building. So it's going to be a very cool project, and I'm looking forward to completing this project on time, on budget, and providing a lot of great units for the community.
So when you do buy a church, you have to be mindful, or any property that needs to be totally redeveloped. I've just made some lists here and some notes of some of the benefits and some of the challenges, because I guess this is going to be a massive BRRRR, and we need to make sure there's no sense in doing something unless you're going to be profitable. So there's definitely some benefits of working within the existing structure. So now that we've had the engineering done and we know we can actually build up and build over, and the city has approved the plan and the concept, now we've actually got to put some, this is where the rubber meets the road per se, right? Really positive community response. I mean, who wants to tear down a church that's been around for over 50 years? Not me. And I felt I didn't even want to get demolition quotes, and we didn't really want to work with builders that couldn't work within the existing structure. So, the cost per square foot can really decrease, okay? Because you've already got all the walls up, a lot of the framing up, the hydro's already in there. Some of the mechanicals are going to be able to be reused. Some be repurposed and stuff. There's a lot of extra building material and space in there, so that's definitely positive. Like our price per square foot for people that are really into that, when you build a new home, you're usually, you can't really get much of a home these days for under $200,000 a square, or under $200 a square foot. So our average price on repurposing this building is probably going to be around that $140 to $150 per square foot, which is reasonable. And I think the reason why most investors, even if they have $5 or $10 million in the bank, they're not building apartment buildings because, number one, they can't get the land. Number two, when you actually figure out like your construction costs, it's outrageous. Like, it doesn't make any sense unless you go to like cement construction and you can build up and you have probably 100 units. I'm not sure. So for here it does make sense, but the numbers still are tight, and we got to make sure that we're working on a budget. More impact. So we're not going to be recycling a whole bunch of material into a dump. We can reuse most of things on the building. And because of all these different things, the purchase price was reasonable. Okay, like these things don't trade for millions of dollars unless you're downtown Toronto. We got the property at a reasonable price. But again, problems or profits, there are going to be some challenges here too. Finding contractors that can do the work. You're playing in the upper echelon of contractors, and then what contractors have actually worked within walls of buildings like this before. We found a great group that's worked on a lot of schools and other things before, so looks like we're probably going to be highly entertaining their building quote, which is great. Your time at City Hall, you're going to be spending a lot more time at City Hall, a lot more time with studies and plans and projections and all those different things, and everything wanted like $3,000 to $5,000 checks. It was, just to get the zoning changed, okay? Studies and reports. Unexpected challenges, we just had a new challenge today, so now we got to pivot and shift and go, okay, what direction are we going to go in now? So you have to be fully prepared for challenges. And probably longer construction time, even though the walls are already up, the foundation's already done. Now they need to, it's almost like they're reconstructing something with plastic surgery as opposed to just starting new again, okay? And a lot of builders like to just start new again because it's really the path of least resistance. They know their time frames. They can build a building in 3, 4, 5 months, whereas I think here it's going to be a lot more of a delicate process, and maybe multiple contractors can't be working at the same time. So those are the pros and cons of a church. You got to make sure your numbers make sense. We're going for 1-bedroom apartments here, not 2 or 3 bedroom apartments. We just felt that was the best and highest use of this building. So this is where you Sunday services. Get some lights on here. We've been selling off church pews. Half of them are gone. So this is kind of like the size of one of the apartments. This is going to be like a 550 square foot apartment.
Yeah. So what are some of the first things you look at, Kory, when looking at buying a church?
I think you got to treat it like any building that if you're looking to repurpose the building, you got to think, okay, does it lend itself easily to some sort of a new floor plan? And this church is built more like a school, so it's very boxy and very blocky. It's not like your typical high steeples and those kinds of things. It's again, it's built really utilitarian-like, right? So it was easy to lay out. When we had this sent off to a planner, they came up with some designs that worked out really well for the apartment sizes we were looking for. So, but I guess you got to look at anything you'd look at with any house, right? You got to look at the basics. You know, how's the foundation? How's the roof? You know, we actually had to have an engineer come here and look at the footings and see if we could actually build up, because it's not quite high enough here to do 2 stories. We're about 3 feet short, so we're going to have to either jack up the ceiling or blow off the ceiling altogether and start over again, right, to get that extra 8 apartments in above here. Zoning is very important too. We had to make sure that it kind of fit within the city plan. We had a pre-consultation meeting with the city just to say, hey, does this even make sense, right? So, sure. So this is what our architects came up with. Anything white is the existing church. It stops right there. We went in through this door and we're basically standing right here right now. And again, since it's not tall enough for 2 stories, we need to raise the roof here. So anything brown is an addition up or an addition over. So we have a large parking lot on the west side here, and we're going to do 3 units, 3 units, 3 units, so a total of 9 over here on this addition. And then by being able to build up, we're going to have basement level units, main floor units, and then second floor units, as well as elevators and everything else. There's a lot of stuff here at play. Here's the interior floor plan. It's pretty hard to tell, but that's like one apartment, one apartment, one apartment.
And so this involves an elevator?
Yeah, if we want to have accessible units or any units for disabled, then we need to make sure that we have some sort of an elevator.
Do you know, have you started looking into costs? Like, what's the ballpark there?
We don't need like a full-blown elevator. Like, I think we're looking into like the 4x4 elevators where it's like somebody in a wheelchair and their care provider can be like in there, and you kind of like close the door yourself and scoot yourself up. So I think I think they're kind of in the $50,000 to $75,000 range, and it's just that ongoing quarterly cost to maintain them though, which is you have to factor that into as well. Here's the city plan, so it shows like the different zoning for what's around us, and there are some 3-story walk-ups just down the street, right? So it's not like what we were asking for was unheard of, and it did fit it pretty nicely into the city's plan. So the city was very receptive to it, and then it went to a council meeting once we paid all of our zoning fees, and we jumped through all the different things that the city was looking for to get to the starting line. It was well received, and now we're at the point with, let's actually get some building quotes and decide what direction we're going to go in. This was the first church. So this church was built in 2 stages. So back in, I believe, 1959, and then 3 years later they built extra onto it. So if we go up this way, they needed some daycare, I guess we should get some lights on here. So we got room. So this is where they used to do more of the Sunday school, and I think one of these was a daycare room. They left a few pianos up here, so I think they must have been doing some music lessons and things like that too. So yeah, guys, it just keeps going. We got 12,000 square feet, and the plan is we're probably going to end up doubling the square footage.
And so do you have to move pretty fast on this?
Yeah, so we had to move fast. We also had to move fast as well with because it was zoned as a duplex. So if we want to turn this into multifamily residential, then we had to get that zoning, and we wanted to do it before the city council turned over. So it's just always best once you get a property. It's like, hey, let's get moving on it, and we jumped through all the hoops necessary to be able to sit in front of that city council and talk to them about our plan, which ended up getting approved. So now we're approved for 32 units. They were just asking that we didn't max out the height restrictions. That was their big thing. They didn't want something way taller than the rest of the neighborhood. yeah, so let's take you guys into the basement where the gym used to be. Some retro light fixtures here.
Oh yeah.
Lots of bathrooms in here. We got 5 bathrooms. This is like their gym area. So this will end up being a couple apartments over here and over here. So at the end of the day, if people aren't good with visualizing things, it's like make your own floor plan, right? Like just make your own topographical floor plan and get some dimensions and see, okay, you know, like a bachelor unit is probably going to be 400 square feet. 1 bedroom is probably going to be like anywhere between 550 and 800 square feet, maybe 700. Like a 2 bedroom could be 750 to 1,000, 3 bedroom, 1,000 and up kind of thing. Just some really rough ballparks, but. And there's a big kitchen over here too. They don't build things like they used to, right? Wood's not like the way wood used to be either. It's super quiet in here. Sometimes I just come in here to work. Whatever room in here, I'm not really sure what they use this for, but.
So now that you've bought a church, with hindsight, like, are there lessons you've learned now that when you go to buy the next church, you'd approach it differently, or?
I don't think so. Like, I think we had a pretty solid plan and a pretty solid team. I bought this with a partner, so it's always great to be able to share the workload and, you know, have two heads thinking of different things, and you also, everybody brings their own resources to the table and their own skill sets to the table, which is great too. Maybe the only one change I would have done was maybe decommission it. Like, we would have just turned off the water, gas, heat, hydro, everything right away, because we paid for that through winter, and it was probably just money that we didn't need to spend. So, but yeah, I think we acted on it pretty quickly, and we put the plan together pretty quickly, and explored a bunch of different options, which was great. So.
And so the partner you have on this project, have you guys worked on other things in the past, or is this the first time?
We had a working, like we've had a past working relationship, but never buying real estate together. So.
And so how do you approach like a project and a partnership for this size of project that could take years to see all the way down? How important is it to iron out, you know, a roadmap or exit plans?
You know, like high level, you know, just make sure that you guys both have unique strengths, and like, because if you're like a clone of each other, then people are always going to have a blind spot, right? So, or like weaknesses versus strengths. So I think it's important to work together with people that, first of all, you want to work with, that have similar mindsets. And I think having that delayed gratification mentality is very important too. Like, we're not just looking at this as like a 1-year thing, we're looking at this as like a 20, 30-year-old thing, or eventually we're going to be, you know, handing this apartment building down to our children or something like that, right? So, you know, they have a long-term focus as well, which is great. So that's what I like too. And I think your results will speak for themselves too, right? People aren't going to want to partner with people that aren't, you know, leveling up to their level of expertise or skill set too. So it's important, and you know, that's why it pays to work hard and make a name for yourself and do things right and have a great reputation, because then people won't have issues in a partnership.
All right, so we're on the outside of the church right now, just to give you a little bit of the landscape. So these parking lot here, these are ours, so it goes back that way, goes back around the corner. It also goes around the back of the church here too, which is where I'll show you where we're going to do the addition for the extra 9 units. So follow us. There's obviously going to be setbacks, right? You need to be certain ways away from your neighbor. Residential construction is a lot different than commercial construction, so I think it's 15 feet from this fence. But we're going to be kind of over here. And it's right here. Addition. A big open area. You know, we'll be utilizing all these parking spots here, but that's why I want to engage someone on your team that has that kind of specialty, right? Like the architects, they looked at the floor plan, they're like, this is the highest and best use, do the addition over here, right? So like our original concept was different what they came up with, which was kind of cool. Okay guys, so this is the outside of the church here. It's all block construction. When you peel off pieces of the siding there, you'll see it's just cylinder block. So really strong construction we can build on top of it. There's the strength there, so I'm looking forward to breaking ground next spring.
Awesome.
When you guys originally bought it, did you already know kind of the number of units you thought you could place, or was it a big range?
We had an idea of what we could do existing, like within the existing structure. So whether it was going to be 2 bedrooms or 1 bedrooms, we knew we were kind of around that dozen, like 12 to 16, depending on how small we made the units. We just weren't sure what we could do if we started lifting roofs off and doing additions and building out more, just to make sure we still had the parking requirements. Because when you're dealing with apartment buildings or any income property, whether it's a duplex, triplex, or 50plex, you need to make sure you have certain parking requirements, and that's based on your city and municipality, which is really important too.